Good afternoon. We're going to take just a moment and go over what is WIDA. WIDA stands for World Class Instructional Design and Assessment. And what WIDA focuses on is what our language learners must acquire and negotiate to participate successfully in school. And hopefully you'll find as you work through WIDA and visit the WIDA.us website that many of the practices that they give and strategies that they give are good for all learners, not just our language learners. Let's take a moment and look at the 5 English language proficiency areas that our students must acquire. Our first is the social and instructional language. This is probably the most foundational. We know most of our students spend their time with social, so that language is going to develop first, and then the instructional language. And when we're talking about instructional language, then we start moving specifically into the language of language arts, the language of mathematics, the language of science, and the language of social studies. So we need to recognize that we each have a specific academic vocabulary that we require our students to have in order to function within our classroom. This proficiency level ranging 1 to 6 will give you an idea of where our language learners enter and then when they leave. So our first level, of course, is entering, then emerging, developing, expanding, bridging, and then, of course, reaching. At about level 3 is where we're going to start to see our students begin to speak a little bit more. They're going to try some new things. But moving into level 4 and 5, we have to push them a little bit more. This is where they're going to be able to start digging deeper with the language because they're getting a little bit more proficient and a little bit more comfortable with it. So what does this look like? For example, if we wanted our students to analyze, if they were a level 1 student, in other words, they had just entered, it would look like they would be able to maybe label a drawing. A level 2, we're moving into emerging, they might be able to describe the stages of something. Level 3, now we can start to use those details. Versus level 4 and level 5, again, we're starting to see a little bit more of the social side work in, where they can discuss and hold conversation or start working on reproducing stories. This is just one small example of an academic language, so the word analyze, the students actually being able to produce something where they're analyzing depending on their proficiency level.